can share with us your thoughts, questions, comments, clarifications that you may be needing in regards to the housing agenda under the Big Four pillar, and just generally an overlook when it comes to the housing sector here in Kenya. And we have with us a fantastic guest in studio this morning to help us better understand and put this whole issue into perspective, to help us know where we are and what more we need to do as a nation to make sure that, by the time we get to 2022, housing will no longer be a problem, as was promised by His Excellency when he made the Big Four agenda public. That was back in 2017 on the 12th of December. With us in studio this morning, we have Peter Wairegi, who is the Executive Director and Strategist at the Kenya Professional Realtors Association, that is abbreviated KPRA. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
My pleasure.
We're glad you made time to be with us this morning.
My pleasure.
To help us better understand the matters concerning the real estate industry here in Kenya. Now, let's just start off with, this promise that was made by His Excellency back in 2017, 500,000 houses by 2022. From where you sit as a realtor, was this a realistic figure, or you were aiming too high, too soon?
Thank you. Good morning. Again, it was the backdrop of what the demand was. The demand at that time was about 2.5 million units, growing at the rate of about 17%. So the 500 was very conservative, because the demand for affordable housing, what is called low-cost housing, it was actually very high. So the expectation and the planning for the government was, if they can even do 20%, 25% of that figure, it was a huge milestone coming to 2022. Obviously, we have not achieved that figure, but I still think it was a very bullish target, and I think we are getting there. We can discuss where we are and what we need to do to get those figures, even increase that number. Yeah,
even with this, it's said that we're growing at a steady rate of about 200,000 units a year.
150,000 units
Currently
a year.
Stands at 150,000.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we are still on track?
We are not on track.
We're absolutely not on track.
We are not in track. In terms of meeting that demand, is not there. But I think I wanted to make a comment one of your persons talked about is, what is affordable housing?
Yes.
I think we need to agree what affordable housing is. Affordable housing is low-cost housing that can access to most people in the middle to low-income brackets. Yeah. It doesn't mean cheap housing or social housing.
I think that's where we tend to confuse this two.
Exactly.
Cheap housing and affordable housing.
Exactly. Affordable housing should be a house that's well planned, and I think discussing even the issues of real estate, you have to talk about urban planning, our issue with finance, because you cannot achieve the affordable housing if you don't have affordable finance. So access to credit is very important.
It is important. Yes. And those are the issues I want us to actually start, looking into. And because, critics are saying that less than 1% of this affordable housing project has been attained, and we have less than 2.5 years to go. So time is definitely not on our side. And let's just start with, this issue of urbanization. Do you think it is one of the biggest strains, or it just plays a very minor role when it comes to the attainment of this affordable housing project?
And that's a good question to look at, because why is it that we have not achieved that number? Because when you say affordable housing, does that mean people moving to Nairobi or the outskirts or in the urban areas? And that has been the problem. Most now, the new house starts are in the urban area. We have one coming at Athi River. Yeah. We have one coming in Ruiru. So it can be just in Nairobi. But yet, even in Nairobi, there's a demand for those affordable housing. So I think we need to look at all those aspects and figure out a way to be able to expand this even to counties. Because affordable housing is not just in Nairobi. Yes. What about in the counties? Yes. In Nakuru County, in Naivasha, in Nyeri, Kiambu. What are you doing about spreading this affordable housing to other counties? And that's the challenge of meeting this particular goal.
Do you think the planning process also was a bit hampered because, most of the areas that have been considered are mostly urbanized areas as opposed to some of the rural and more subtle areas?
I agree. I think, as a matter of fact, even education, in terms, if you ask a person in the street or a common man, do you know anything about affordable housing? In America, home ownership is called the American dream. Yes. And I think the term you used here, nyumba yangu, also brings that we need housing for everyone. Yes. And that's is a right people have actually to have a home, a shelter. So this idea of affordable housing is not been well explained, well communicated. A lot of people don't even know, how do I access this affordable housing? Yes. What does it cost? And where do I find these properties? So there's still a lack of information from both the government and the private sector. So I think we need to do more in communicating what is it affordable housing, how do I access it, how do I benefit from it, is it an apartment, is it a communal living, what is it?
All right. Now, that actually brings me to another aspect, and this is in regards to funding, which, is one of the key areas that play a very huge role when it comes to the real estate industry. Yes. And let's talk a bit about, the funding that is required to just maybe start off or get us to that point where we need to be in this whole aspect of project of affordable housing. Yes. Just last year, the president, pulled back the order in regards to the housing fund levy, not making it compulsory for everyone.
True.
Do you feel that that might have been a big blow towards attaining, these affordable houses, 500,000 units by 2022, considering, not everyone is going to contribute now, making it voluntary?
But the issue with the levy, it was not well implemented.
Yeah.
Because I think it was not supported by most groups, both in the private sector.
Was it a good idea to start with?
I don't think so. I don't think it was a good idea because there are other ways to achieve affordable finance through both guarantees.
Yeah.
There are also insurance. But also at the same time, affordability is an issue of employment. So even before we address an issue of affordability, we have to address other matters in the economy that are making that dream almost difficult to achieve.
Yeah.
So therefore, let's look at what are the factors that play into affordability, both employment, earnings, economic growth. Those are the factors we need to work with. But I think the president's Big Four agenda is a very good start.
Yes.
Taking care of infrastructure, agriculture, health, and of course affordable housing and manufacturing. And now I'm seeing that there are some pockets of opportunities if we can increase in manufacturing and employment, especially for young people.
Yeah.
Then this issue of affordable housing will also grow because the affordability index will also go up.
But how then can the common mwananchi be involved in the financing of some of these projects? Because, the government cannot handle everything on its own. The mwananchi also, we want affordable houses, we want decent houses, but how can we be involved financially in a way that makes sense to both the common mwananchi down at the grassroots, in a way that they will voluntarily come to the table and give money to this project? That's
a good question and a comment because it is not the government that's going to provide financing. It's really the private sector and the investment industry. So in terms of affordability, the government has done the first step. This formation of KMRC, the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Corporation, that is going to provide funding to commercial banks, mortgage company, and SACCOs at low single-digit rates, below 10%. And I think that is a good start because they will be able to double the number of mortgages in the country. Right now, we stand at 26,000 mortgages in the country. I personally, singly, I did almost 9,000 mortgages.
26,000.
26 is the number.
Yeah.
I did single-handedly 9,000 when I was in the U.S., owning just a simple mortgage company. So the figures are very low. There is an issue. People have still not embraced borrowing. But the way to borrow is to understand both not only underwriting, but how to service the mortgage. So I think we need to show folks that affording a home, having finance, and being able to service that is doable.
Yes.
But you see, you cannot service the mortgage if you don't have income. So we also have to look at the other part of the index and look at how do we increase employability and earning, both in terms of both the employment and also self-employment, creating businesses.
All right.
So I think we will see that as we increase job market, as people start opening their own businesses, that this idea of affordability will be there. But let me also say that big projects, sometimes you can come with creative financing. Some of them called purchase money mortgage, where the developer actually carries the financing. So as the capital market is now opening up with these new rates, with new creative financing, the green bond, I see additional capital coming in the market where most projects will be able to finance their own projects. So this is good news to potential home buyers because there'll be more money available now for the affordable housing.
I think there's a very big information gap among the people when it comes to understanding some of these terminologies that are involved in real estate.
Yes.
Because once you get to understand them, you get to understand it's not so complex. It is not as capital intensive as we tend to think.
Yes.
And that brings me to this conversation that we always hear between renting and mortgaging.
Yes.
So many people don't understand how mortgaging really operates. But let's just start, from given that you're here, you are better positioned to help our viewers better understand that.
Yes.
The benefits of taking up a mortgage as opposed to renting a house for so many years only to try and build a house later in life when things are not looking so good.
Very true. Basically, when you look at mortgage, affordability of mortgage, about 25% of your gross income can go toward mortgage. Now
25%.
You brought 25%. Now, when you look at the rental market, if I'm making, say, 150,000 a month or 100,000 a month, 25% of that is 25,000 shillings per month. If I'm making 150, 25% would be about what, 35,000. So 35,000 can afford you a mortgage of about 3 million, 3 to 3.5 million, figuring about 10-year amortization.
And that is roughly a 2 or 3 bedroom house?
Two or 3 bedroom house, correct, because that's the range.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's probably better if you are making about 100,000 or even below, and you're paying rent of about 10,000 to 25,000 to own a home than actually rent. You see, when you rent, there's no investment, there's no return.
There's no return.
When you own, there's residual income, because especially a property value, here, every 7 years, you are doubling the value of that property. So there is a big advantage of buying and owning a home as opposed to renting. And I think, therefore, we need to have this discussion. How do I qualify for a mortgage? Why is having a mortgage better for me? And for many people, nobody has 3 million in cash to go and buy a property.
Yeah.
Therefore, the financing option is the best option.
Over the years.
Over the years. Then you spread it over time. And in some cases, there's more liquidity, you can even refinance that mortgage. But for right now, I think as more developers are coming on board in this affordable housing, you'll find out there'll be more creative products where people can access mortgage at lower interest rates.
All right. Yes. And maybe it could help us better understand now, for a viewer like maybe has just made up their mind right now, I want to take up a mortgage. Yes. What are the steps that they need to take? What are the necessary documentations that they need to make sure that they are in track to being qualified?
Thank you. In terms of underwriting a mortgage or qualifying a mortgage, there are 3 steps. First of all, you have to have income or cash flow, meaning that steady. Yes. That's why I'm calling it cash flow, because there has to be money that is predictable. So therefore, you have to have a job or a business. So if you have a job that you're earning an income, or you own a business that generates some cash flow, that's number 1. Number 2, you have to have a little bit of asset savings. One of the biggest challenges in this country is savings. Most people don't save. They spend most of the money.
We haven't embraced the saving culture.
Exactly. But you need to save, because when you save, then if there's a property available, say for 3 million, and you're supposed to put 20%, that is 600,000. Yes. Where would you get the deposit? So in most cases right now, we don't have 100% financing that I've seen, not many. So therefore, you'll need some type of a deposit. That is assets. Even if you don't have a job, if you have a kibarua or you have a small business you are running on the side, it generates additional income for you. That also helps you. So when a bank or a mortgage person looks at your ability to pay, they look at your income, they look at your asset, they look at your savings, and therefore they are able to determine if you are able to make those monthly payments.
If you're creditworthy.
If you're creditworthy. So if you can meet those, if you can service the mortgage. So it's important we start having a discussion in terms of how do I actually qualify to buy a mortgage, what are the things I need to do. Then you start planning. It may take you a year or 2 to save the initial 200, 300,000 you need, and you don't need money just for deposit. When you buy a home, you need to furnish the home. So how are you going to furnish the home if all the money you had, you put it toward either deposit? So the idea of saving should be first embraced. As a matter of fact, in the olden days, when our parents were buying property in this Guatemala, they would save a lot of money. They would save money little by little, and then they would combine and they would buy in a group. Also, we also need to embrace that, where you can start looking at property within either circles or societies or groups, because it also allows you to reduce the cost. But it's definitely important to have information and to plan and to also know what you need to do. And then once you buy a home, you need to be able to service the house and maintain the property. So there is also a cost of maintaining the property.
The maintenance bit of it.
The cost is all yours. Security for the home is yours. The water, the electricity, maintenance, and so forth. So there's a lot to be talked about, but definitely I do encourage owning your home is definitely better than renting.
It's definitely better than renting.
Correct.
And also in your interaction, with you meet clients and common Mwananchi out there, what are maybe some of the biggest challenges that they always highlight as, being the biggest hindrance towards home ownership?
Well, in terms of access to finance, one of the biggest complaints has been for access to finance. The other one, information, knowing even where to look. And then the third one has been, a lot of people have been, given promises for projects that don't actually materialize. So in Kenya, we have that challenge where a lot of developers have not been able to deliver the projects on time, and sometimes there's been an increase in cost. So you're buying a property and you find that the cost now has increased. So we need more information. to communicate with potential buyers, and we need to be able to keep our promises. Most importantly, we need to increase employability.
All right.
Yes.
Now, coming back to this whole conversation about affordable housing, we find the government was actually looking for people who have land that they are not using.
Yes.
Land is just idling there, not being used, not being developed, not being used in any way to generate any income. How can this part of the population now get more involved in especially the real estate industry to not have cases of just land idling? They can go into land speculation and land banking, all in an effort to help towards financing of the affordable housing dream?
That's an interesting question, because the issue of vacant, land that is vacant. The government has more land that is vacant than the individuals. And one of the biggest challenges of affordable housing is cost of land. The cost of land is almost 40% of the cost of the actual construction.
Capital,
Correct. So 40%. So by the time you even start constructing, you have to spend almost 40% to buy the land. So you can see half the money is already gone before you even start construction. So the cost of the land need to come down. So it can be subsidized. So if government was to have a program whereby the cost of the land is subsidized, which I think that's what they're doing, that will help in terms of affordability and keeping the cost down. And also the use of new construction material innovations. We earlier talked about one of your anchors talked about innovations in the construction.
Emerging trends.
We need to embrace new construction method, and also time it takes to construct. You've seen many developed countries construct within a month or two. You can finish a house. Here it takes about a year to finish a property.
At least.
That is too costly, because there's also carrying costs. So we need to reduce the cost of construction. The biggest one is reduce the cost of land, and then the cost of financing. If we can do those three things, and then have some information being given. They say information is power. Make sure people are well informed. They're able then to make their choice and decision to actually become homeowners.
All right. And do you feel, the laws of the land are accommodating the legal environment? Are they as accommodating when it comes to helping the real estate industry thrive? That's
a very good question, because one of the reasons KPRA is formed is to raise the bar. There has been many challenges in Kenya in terms of conveyance. Fake titles. Again, what I said before, people buying property off plan, and the project not being delivered on time, cost going up. So I think we need more legislation. I can tell you that. Sometimes they say you don't need more laws, you need more information. But in this case, creating the proper structure, creating a structure whereby the folks that you're doing business with are credible, they are licensed, you know where they are, you can find their offices, then it's good. So we do need more legislation. We need to have that conversation with the government body, the housing. But I think at KPRA we advocate that we have more regulation, including even the people who sell real estate. They need to be properly trained. They need to be properly registered somewhere. So even
especially that registration process. Exactly. We have so many who are mkono.
That's correct. Now we do have a registration board, which only is the number they have is probably very small. It's about 300 to 400. But to register more, you also have to create a level playing field where registering is not trying to report yourself or get yourself in trouble. Registering is raising the bar and improving your level of proficiency and performance. So even that registration, it needs to be based on training, expertise, not based on, you don't have to bribe somebody to get registered.
So and there is an information gap, especially as starting that registration
and a knowledge gap also, and a knowledge gap. So we need to train people who are in real estate, people that are in conveyance, and the other thing, we need to improve our structure. So even the conveyance, the titles, people will know, a common man will know this is a good title, is not a good title. Yes.
All right. Again, information is power, knowledge is power, and it all boils down to awareness levels among the people.
That is true.
Now, it has been said that the real estate industry has been one of those industries that has continued to grow on a steady, in as much as the economy has been suffering. And maybe you could tell us a bit about that. What is it about the real estate industry that makes it resilient despite the tough economic times that we have been witnessing?
Well, that is an interesting question, because in 2018, a study by Knight Frank showed that 75% of the global wealth is in real estate.
Real estate.
That's number one. Number two, real estate is a finite commodity. God is not making more land. So the land we have is a finite commodity, but yet the population is growing. So if you look at the population of Kenya in 1978, it was, I think, 11 million. What is the population today? Close to 46 million. So the population is growing. The land mass is the same. That's why they say land is gold.
Land is gold.
Land is gold. So now, secondly, you need housing. You need commercial building. You need retail building. So as the economy continues to grow, and also the population grow, the demand for land has increased. So that's why your question is land a good investment? And the answer is yes, because of its finance. Land is like gold.
Yes.
Because the value of land continue to grow, even though, despite the other challenges in the economy, owning land is very important. So I would encourage any person listening to this broadcast that they actually consider owning a piece of land.
Real estate is a safe investment.
It's a safe investment.
Yes.
Yeah.
As opposed to many other industries.
Very
of course,
true.
we have of the option,
Yes.
but real estate is
and don't remember that investing in real estate, you're also investing in construction, in housing,
many
other businesses, including agriculture and manufacturing. It's all real estate. So all the other sectors, these all stem from real estate.
All right. Yes. So given that it is one of the pillars under the Big Four agenda, it's definitely bound to be a success, but we also have a role to play as a people.
Yes.
Now, the government did have an agreement with about 28 counties to make sure that there are at least 2,000 houses that have been put in every county. Yes. Do you feel that, the counties are living up to what they are expected to help towards this attainable of the housing pillar?
I don't think they are, and even 2,000 is a small number. If you're talking about filling a gap of 2.5,
yes,
the 2,000 they will not do it.
Yeah.
So we should be talking about 50,000 for every county. So I think that's the challenge. How do we get the counties, all 47 counties, to all endeavor to do 50,000 homes? Not 2,000. 2,000 is a very small number.
It's a very
I think
small
it's a very humble beginning, but we need more than that because the demands are there.
Yes.
So we need to find ways where we can actually encourage and also help empower the counties to do more in helping the government in reaching this affordable housing agenda.
All right. Now, for a common Mwananchi who doesn't know how to, they just hear of the, affordable housing project, Boma Yangu. It's an online platform where you go to register, but they don't understand how to go about, to qualify or to register for this platform. Maybe you could tell us and help our viewers better know how to go about being part of this.
Well, I think the best way to go is through housing. The housing, there's the website on housing and land where you can go and actually get the information. But I think, again, that was a challenge. We need more information to the counties, both also to most sectors, how you access this affordable housing.
Yes.
I think one thing that I think is a challenge for KPRA now is the forums we've been doing. We do business power networking on a monthly basis to actually synthesize and also give information to potential buyers how to do that.
Yes.
And also we believe in training and education. So this is a matter where it's not just even getting the information, it's also getting training in terms of what you need to do. And most important, training the professionals.
Yes.
And the professionals that are supposed to be the one helping the growth of affordable housing. So we need to do more. We have a lot to do, but I think I'm very optimistic that we are actually going to reach there.
Also, when it comes to awareness levels, and especially down to the counties, to help people better understand what this housing agenda is all about, what the options are available, because I believe there's something for everyone. Because for most people, they may think, hey, this one, a single room goes for 600,000. Where am I supposed to get 600,000? Double room, $1 million. So when it comes to awareness levels, what more do you think needs to be done, starting from the counties up to the national government, to make sure that everybody is on board?
Yeah, I agree. I think, we have the Huduma Center, where you can go get your driving, you can get I think even within the Huduma Center, they need to create like a housing desk where you can get information about affordable housing, affordable finance. So I think initially we can use the Huduma Center to do that. And then on the county level, within their housing and urban development, they should do a housing desk where this
every county
should do it, because housing is key. In life.
It is a basic need.
It's a basic need. So it's an important thing that we should give a priority to. And then, as you have put it, we need more information and more knowledge as far as how to access it and what it does for you. So we also need to sell the value add. Why do I need to own a home?
Yes.
Why is home ownership important? That information needs to be communicated to the masses.
All right. Now, we have been talking about KPRA, the Kenya Professional Realtors Association. Maybe for our viewers, they're wondering now, who is this KPRA? And maybe let's just take a step back and help our viewers understand what KPRA does and their mandate so far.
Okay, KPRA is the Kenya Professional Realty Association. It was incorporated in 2013. It's the private sector that is working with the government. We have done a lot of training since 2013. We first partnered with KCA University when we started doing the training. They were also involved in when we registered the organization. We realized that there wasn't a single real estate agency association that was actually helping the industry. So KPRA was formed. We have partnered with many in the industry, Currently, we've now been approved by NITA in terms of training. NITA is the National Institute of Training Authority. We got approval to do that. So we'll be doing a lot of communications. We have a professional magazine. This is a copy of that magazine, professional real estate magazine that we give to people in the industry. But as the private sector, we have a role to play working with the government to actually make this affordable housing a reality. But to do that, we also feel that on the professional side, there have been one of the things that I had when I came back to Kenya is that a briefcase sales agent. So there are a lot of people out there selling real estate that are not maybe qualified or properly trained. So KPRA's role, you can call them bogus and trained. KPRA's role is to actually raise the bar and bring training to those sectors, so that even as you aspire to have a career in real estate in terms of sales and marketing, that you're well trained, you are an expert in this market, you have information, so that when you meet a client, you are able to service the client. So the role of KPRA is to do that, to do training, bring bodies together, work with the government to increase this information in terms of affordable housing and affordable finance, including increasing the capital market. So I think as we move toward the end of this year, you see KPRA even being involved in helping generate additional capital in bringing it toward this affordable housing.
All right. And speaking of, in the process of helping generate more income, how can foreign investors also be factored into, all in an effort to go towards, financing and funding this project that is affordable housing?
That is already starting to happen, because I can give you several examples. We have the Mivido, the project in Garden City. Now we have the Habitat Heights, the project by AFRA. By these Singaporean investors. So we have quite a few projects, and those projects, they have invested money in the country. So I think what I see, if we create structures, including this additional mortgage financing layer, then I would see many foreign investors coming in this market, because they know the demand for housing is there. There's a gap in terms of meeting their demand. If we can now incorporate the additional financing, I think you'll see even more investors coming in this market and providing more affordable housing initiatives.
All right, and also just speaking of, the people, the local people, when it comes to embracing new trends and looking at new ways of, going into the real estate industry, we have part of the population that are hell-bent on the traditional way of building houses, traditional way of setting up buildings, and we are not embracing these new and modern ways of doing things. How would you encourage our viewers today when it comes to embracing modern forms of housing, construction, planning, all in an effort to go towards affordable housing that is modernized and is, capital not intensive as such?
Agree. Well, I don't think we have a choice, because as I mentioned earlier, land is a very finite commodity, so that we are not going to have the type of villages that we used to have, where you have 10 acres with 5 houses.
Imagine.
So you'll
big
find that
empty rooms.
Yes. So you find that as most the developed countries, whether you're talking about the US or the UK or Singapore or Malaysia, they actually have what is a community, gated community, where you have all the amenities you need. So the idea of gathering and providing services to more people, then you also reduce the cost of providing their service, whether it's sanitation, whether it's having a hospital or a shopping mall. So this idea of having apartments, townhouses within one gated community is something that other developed countries are doing. Even South Africa. If you go to South Africa, you find many gated communities where they call live, work, and play. You have commercial business there, you have retail operation there, you have residents there, you have schools, you have a hospital. So that you don't have to go very far to access these services. So the idea of living, this communal living and different type of construction where people are living together is something that is already embraced all over the world. So even here in Kenya, I think that's where we are heading. And you will see a lot of gated community mushrooming, because that's people need those services. And those services, you can only get them if you combine all your resources together.
And do you think this is practical with under the housing agenda?
It's very practical, very practical.
With these affordable housing projects that are set to come up?
Absolutely. Actually, most of the project will be gated community where will be live, work, and play. I'm sure they will provide not only sanitation, places for sports, places for doing events, and also amenities, including retail, retail establishment. So a lot of these projects for affordable housing, they will have those amenities within them.
But do you think this will be limited in terms of especially geographical location? More urbanized areas are going to be more accommodative of such a gated community as opposed to less urbanized and slum-like areas?
Well, yes and no, because when you do this project, whether you're doing the slum area or urbanized areas, I think it's the same. So I think the concept is the same, regardless where even if you take it to county, for example, say you go to Nakuru or you go to Nyeri, it's going to be the same concept, because you still need the retail, you still need the amenities, and you need security, common security, because that is something that people need. So I don't see a difference between where they are. I think the concept is the same.
So the geographical location doesn't need to matter.
It doesn't
We can
matter.
have all these pockets of community living anywhere.
Whether you're living in Nakuru or Nairobi, you need to go to a shopping center. You need water. You need electricity. You need ICT. So all those amenities are important.
Distance
How to get them to those area location is the question now. Is the challenge. I think we can then answer that question. Then I think we'll be able to make headways on this affordable housing journey.
All right. Now, just as we bring the conversation to a close, looking at the real estate industry as a whole, what would you like to just encourage our viewers when it comes to investing and just looking at potential ways in which they can venture into it, ultimately to just have yourself an affordable and decent place to live?
Well, first of all, owning a home is not only a dream for many, but it's something that is within our nature. So I think what I recommend to most viewers, if you think of owning a home, first of all, talk to a professional. You know, they either have an attorney represent you, have somebody in the financial arena, have a listed professional, maybe a member of KPRA and the other organization, there are others, KPDA, and other organizations in the area. So make sure whoever you're dealing with is a professional, number one. Number two, they are providing you information that you need, and they are be able to help you achieve your dreams. And secondly, look for information. I think, if anything, information is power. I think the more you know, the easier it is you're able to make a choice. There is one organization in the US that said, an informed consumer is our best customer. Meaning that the more informed you are, the easier is it for you to actually not only invest, but make the
better positioned you are.
To make a decision. So I encourage many of the viewers to actually have a hunger for getting information. Also groups, joining organizations, where if you are in a company where they have a circle or the society, join a group, because you can also afford, the affordability cost is lower if you join a group as opposed to trying to do it yourself.
Individually.
And of course, if you're innovative and you like to challenge, form the group yourself within organization. Whether whether you're in a university or you're working in a business, a factory, if you actually come together, then together you can actually do more than if you do it alone.
Yes. If there's no table, bring the table.
Correct.
All right.
Make it happen.
Make it happen.
Correct.
Now, when it comes to the affordable housing pillar under the Big Four agenda, is it something you would encourage our viewers to actually contribute? Because I think contribution remains to be one of the biggest challenges when it was made voluntary.
Well, you see, the problem with the contribution is, if I contribute, how do I benefit? How do I access it? I think that's the big question. I think the issue is not contribution, the issue is access. And let's get an example of other countries, how they have done it. In the US, the government provides insurance and guarantee. In the US, yes. If you're working for the government, in the US, they have a loan called a VA loan for veterans and people in the civil service. Those loans are guaranteed by the government. So they're able to access financing with no money down. On the FHA, those loans are insured. All these products are available in the market. So I think sooner or later, you're going to see this product. But obviously, if this idea of contribution doesn't work, which it seems like it would not, then we need to look at other options. And the other option is to include the guarantee and also the insurance, and also making a real estate investment, because a lot of people who have real estate are making good returns. So investing in real estate is still a good idea. So how do we then create those pockets where we are able to offer this housing at affordable rates and using cheaper materials, so therefore we have innovative construction. So reducing the cost of construction, providing access to finance is the answer for us for affordable housing, not necessarily the levy. The levy, people will not put in levy unless they can see direct benefit for themselves.
All right. And this ballot way of, just giving houses to the people, do you think it's a fair way to go about it?
What do you mean by
the ballot system that has been put in place for once the houses are complete, there's going to be a ballot system of giving out, allocating the houses?
That will not work.
Why?
That will not. You see, it's like charity. It's like a lottery. I cannot tell you, please play lottery, and you are likely to win. That is not something that is assured. It's gambling. So the idea of this lottery, I see what they're saying. There are fewer houses available, and there are more people needing them. Why don't we increase more houses? Instead of doing a lottery, why don't we find ways to build even more houses so more people can access their home, that you don't have to win a home by lottery? It's like leaving your house today and you're playing a lotto. I don't know whether I'll get to work or not. That is not something that I would look forward to. Let's not forget about the lotto, and let's find a way to increase access to those projects.
But the government does argue that this is just to ensure transparency and no form of corruption. This ballot system of allocating the houses.
I reserve my comment. I reserve my comment because do people believe that? No, forget about me. Do they believe that? Because who is conducting this lottery? You know, you see, so is it, when you say transparency, is it just a statement or have they proved that it's actually transparent? If it's being conducted by a private sector, then I'll believe it, as opposed to being conducted by government. Right. So I think the government need to know that you're working for the people, therefore you need to incorporate private sector and the community to be able to make this thing transparent, not just the government agencies. Government is not the best manager for that effort. All right. It is the private sector and the people themselves.
So the way the allocation process needs to be relooked.
It needs to be relooked.
It will go a long way in encouraging even more people to be part of it.
I agree. And then expect, perception. If you ask anybody about the lotto and their process, and you're saying it's transparent, what do you think they will say? I don't think so. So we have a lot to sell ourselves to the public for them to trust that process is transparent and it would actually yield them a home. The idea is let's try and find ways to get more people owning homes, accessing affordable housing. Let's not do more lottery. Because owning a home is not a lottery. It's really something that everybody aspires to do. All right. Let's increase that access.
All right. Yes. So in this case of the affordable housing, should it be a first-come, first service basis?
Yes. Actually,
depending on how you register.
Exactly. To me, in the U.S. where I stayed for many years, is for you to get a home as a first-time home buyer, you have to take training. And you had to have a certificate as a home buyer. So I'm saying, even as we try to put people in homes, how much information do they have about home ownership? So I think I will start with the training the KPRA is advocating. Have workshop for first-time home buyers. Yes. Let's discuss the benefits of home ownership. Where should I buy? And so what should I expect? Once we do that, I think you see that it's not a question of first come, first served. People would actually then, their demand will increase.
Willingly.
Affordability will increase. And then as we are working toward providing additional financing, there'll be additional financing. So let's make home ownership access to every Kenyan who deserves and wants a home or who can afford one. So as the employment is growing, let's also increase the growth of affordable housing because they will need a place to stay. And our population is growing. This is an issue that is key for the government.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, we are officially out of time, but I cannot leave without, asking you to give us your final remarks.
Yes.
How guys can get in touch with KPRA when they need more information, how they can even get to an agent or one of your representatives to guide them through this process of home ownership.
Thank you. First, let me say thank you for inviting me. KPRA has an office here in Westlands.
Yes.
They can be, if you Google KPRA, KPRA Kenya, .co.ke. So you can go to our website, you will see the contact number there, and call one of the staffers and ask them how, number one, you can become a member, maybe an upcoming events on KPRA. You can even ask them to send you the magazine. You can get a copy of the magazine. This magazine is available electronically, so it can be sent to you on your email, and it's free of charge. We want people to get more information and be more enlightened about affordable housing. We also need to increase the bar. We need to increase professionalism and training in the country so that we can service our people better.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time. This is the magazine. You can go ahead and grab a copy to just understand what more goes into real estate. It's not as diverse or as complicated. It is diverse, but it's not as complicated as we tend to think.
Correct.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have been speaking with Mr. Peter Wairegi, who is the Executive Director and Strategist at the Kenya Professional Realtors Association, abbreviated KPRA, and that brings us to a close of this segment. Up next, we have the traffic update, so do stay with us. We'll be right back after this break.